Today we are joined by Nicolas Chopin, who's the Inshore Survey Officer for BIM. And today he's going to talk to us about the work he's doing on mapping seed mussel beds. It's a bit of a mouthful, hard to say.
It is a bit long, yes.
Yeah. Nicolas, thank you very much for joining us this morning anyway.
No problem.
Great to have you. So I'm going to get started straight away and just fire some questions at you. So I was wondering if you could just, for someone who knows nothing about this or was new to the sector, could you just describe your work for us, please?
So what I'm doing for BIM, I'm actually mapping the subtidal seed mussel bed. So seed mussels are kind of settle on the seabed on the east coast of Ireland mainly. So from Dublin to Wexford and in 15 meters of water. And the bottom mussel industry is collecting that seed to relate into growing ground like Wexford, Carlingford. And my job is just to map the area where the seed is using a kind of acoustic kind of device called a side scan sonar and GIS. So we can just map everything in real time. And I provide a report with a biomass estimate so that both the department and the industry have kind of an idea of what's there for stock.
Yeah, and that software, I mean, I guess it's really helpful for people in the sector. I mean, it probably takes a lot of work out of it. You don't need to send divers down counting.
No, and it wouldn't really be feasible with divers because like we're working in a very dynamic environment with low visibility as well, and that's what the side scan sonar bring. On the top of this, it brings an awful lot of coverage on the ground. So the side scan sonar is a torpedo shape kind of equipment that we tow behind the boat, and it works a bit like a sounder, but it gives an image at the end. So there's two transducer on each side, and it covers a swath, which is kind of like an arc basically on the seabed of 200 meter wide. So 100 meter each side of the towfish. So which means like kind of we're really kind of covering an awful lot of ground, which we wouldn't be able to do with a diver or just a dredge. It would involve an awful lot of kind of equipment and people to do it. Now we could do it with just one boat, a skipper, and a survey officer.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So it's actually really great for people in the industry to have this technology and equipment available.
It's kind of it gives kind of an accurate picture of what's on the seabed. Instead of doing kind of guesstimate of the biomass that's there. All in part of kind of the like I know that at the moment there's a lot of talk about kind of sustainability and all this. One of important part of sustainability is to know exactly how much there is down there so that we can manage it correctly. And in that case, that's what we do.
Yeah, and it's great. And then people know then if they're spending their time, you know, working on this, that they're actually getting the return that they're expecting.
Exactly. And the thing as well is just like again, like there's an awful lot of talk about kind of habitat and preservation. The way we are doing the survey, so we start kind of early in the year, probably in May, where we do a preliminary survey. So what we're doing is we're working with the cycle, the biological cycle of the mussel. So you're looking at the meat yield. So we know when the meat yield and the temperature when the meat yield drops and the temperature of the water increase, it's likely that there's been a spawning. 3 or 4 weeks after, the larvae would settle on the seabed, and which kind of usually brings kind of towards the end of April. So we know that by the start of May, mid-May, we can kind of start kind of using the side scan sonar to look for tiny seed mussel. So we've been recording that since 1970. So we've a mad track record in BIM about kind of seed mussel beds, especially on the southeast coast. So we know that historically they're always settled fairly much in the same place, probably due to kind of local dynamic in the water. You have to know that there's a lot of sandbanks all on the east coast. And there's kind of really kind of local dynamics with currents and all this and food availability and type of seabed. And the mussels tend to settle fairly much in the same location every year. So we know where to look for them.
Yeah, you really know that's the life cycle.
It's still a bit of a needle in a haystack, but we know where to look for them.
Yeah.
And so we do a preliminary survey where we deploy the side scan sonar, use a dredge to look at the seabed. Then we do closer to the opening of the fishery, which usually happen towards the end of August. We try to work it with the cycle of the mussel, so they need to reach a certain size so we can fish them, around 22, 24 mil. So from this, like we do a much more kind of accurate biomass where we have the side scan sonar deployed. We can define the border of the bed, and we take kind of multiple grab samples. So we have that big kind of equipment on the stern of the boat that takes kind of a sample of the seabed, and from there, passing that data into GIS, so the mapping software, we can estimate fairly accurately the biomass at the sea on the bottom. So a report is produced, put online, given to the industry, and at that stage they can just go and fish. At the end of the season, what we do is, again, all in the part of the sustainability, and a lot of people kind of get misinformed that everything is gone from the seabed. We do what's called a post-fishery survey, which is kind of it is not very, very common. A lot of people are looking for this because it's always very interesting to know what's left after the fishery is done.
Yeah, so important.
And so we've been doing that for the next 2 years with the same techniques, side scan sonar and grabs, and we found out that actually, like, there's always a good bit of biomass left behind it.
Yeah.
That stays for the following year.
Yeah.
So, for example, when we did the survey in 2020 in Rosslare, for example, we knew that there was biomass left. And this year, when the fishery opened, there was an awful lot of mussel left there because biomass was left after. And it's left as well for the other species that are actually feeding on mussel. Mainly, we've a lot of spider crabs in the southeast, and they feed on that quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, so it's great for the sustainability of the whole industry as well. And
that's it. Yeah, it really kind of shows that not everything has been taken off. That they're still stuck there, and that kind of, it will produce a little bit of larvae, but it produces as well kind of it's kind of a start of habitat for the other mussel to come, because like mussel attract other mussels. So when you have mussel on the seabed, you know that larvae will settle close by, and they tend to attract each other. And it's good. It works. Like it's been working. Like really, we didn't know that before. We really know that now for the last 2 years, that there is actually biomass left once the fishery has stopped.
And it's interesting, I suppose, because you're collecting so much data as well. It's just great to see it all being used, and it really sounds like you've kind of refined the process. You said you know what you're about now.
Yes, like it's just like well, I've been doing that now since 2008.
Hey, yes.
And at the start, we didn't really know what to look for. We were doing that really kind of just with a dredge, try to kind of have an idea of how much there was on the seabed. Very, very difficult. But throughout the years now, we've purchased a side scan sonar in BIM in 2010, and since it's been a game changer. With GIS as well, and refining sampling techniques, and now we've very kind of accurate tonnage when we do our biomass estimation.
Yeah, you've really optimized the industry there and how it all works. It's fantastic.
Exactly, and it's just like kind of and in terms of coverage as well, like we're covering thousands of hectares of seabed every season.
You just couldn't do it without the technology, no?
No, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work without the technology.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And tell me, so you've that going on, and is there anything else going on in?
Yeah, like, well, the industry is kind of like the biggest demand for the industry is the supply of juvenile, so seed. So we're looking at kind of other solution, because it is wild seed, so it might not always be there. Some season it's not there because of weather condition. It just doesn't produce. And in some other part, like in Kerry, for an example, we found out that because of mainly climate change, the hydrodynamic of the area has changed dramatically. So there's a channel there that has kind of really narrowed. So the tide seems to have been going faster. There's less and less recruitment on the seabed. So we're trying to provide the industry with new solution. So last year we decided to kind of look into kind of what would be the best stock to transplant in the area. So knowing that we have kind of overproduction of mussel around the coast of Ireland, so mainly in ropes, so from Donegal to Cork. So we've selected 5 areas there. We've taken the sample from those areas, and working with GMIT, we're looking at kind of we're kind of looking at kind of the ratio of species, because we've two known species in Ireland. We have the Gallo provincialis, so Mytilus gallo provincialis, and Mytilus edulis, which is the blue mussel. So traditionally, we know that the blue mussel tend to be more on the seabed, and the Gallo provincialis tend to settle more on the ropes. Now, it's empirical data, but what we wanted to know is the exact ratio per base of species variation. And from this, so GMIT is working on this at the moment, and we've relayed those various stock in secluded pens on the shore. Okay. And every so often we go sampling and send the samples to GMIT and see if there's an evolution into it. And we look as well at the survivability of those stock. So we can, instead of doing kind of a guess for the industry to buy 100 tons of mussel from Killary, for an example, relayed on the shore, and it would not work, there we can say, actually, the mussel that we get in Killary might not be suitable for you to relay on the ground. Maybe something from Roaring Water Bay or Bantry Bay might be actually better. And in that case, like it definitely kind of gives a much better advice to the industry if they need to buy other juveniles instead of collecting it from the seabed.
Yeah, and it's kind of coming back to that optimization of the industry piece and ensuring that producers are getting the ROI that they'd expect. It's really interesting.
Exactly, because like the bottom mussel industry is a very kind of extensive way of farming. Usually you collect your seed at the seabed, you relay it on the ground, and after you just wait for it to grow until the commercial size. We can always optimize this by kind of looking at various techniques. We're looking as well for a number of years. We looked at kind of the larvae distribution on the coast as well. Using GPS drifters in real time and multiple samples around the coast. So again, like it's like Luca Mirnin in GMIT highlighted in his interview, it's a bit citizen science. So we use kind of local people on the coast, mainly fishermen or shellfish farmers, to go out and take samples for us, and they then analyze and we produce reports and kind of to show that there is larvae in the water and try to figure out which way they're going using the drifters. It's very there's an awful lot of information coming from those surveys. I
know. Where do you start with all of that data that you're collecting?
There's a lot.
Yeah. So you're a busy man most of the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I spend an awful lot of time on the water from May to end of November.
Yeah. So thank you for taking the time then to talk to us this morning.
No problem.
That's great. And if anyone wants to find out more about this research, where would be the best place to go?
Well, everything is put onto the BIM website. There's the aquaculture publication tab. We have all our reports. So when we're doing seed mussel reports, they're published on a regular basis every year there. Same for the post fishery. We have a report on the larva monitoring we've done from 2015 to 2019 as well. And after, like, we provide as well report on demand, like if people wants to do kind of a stock assessment on their ground, we can provide that kind of at more kind of a private level, we'll say, like kind of just that's not something that's kind of published on the website. It's just given to the producer because kind of it's commercially sensitive kind of information. So we can't really publish that, but all the rest is ready available on the BM website.
Oh, fantastic. So what we can do is we'll add a link to those on the IATiP website if anyone wants to find out more. Have all your details there as well. That's fantastic. I know you're probably busy. You need to get back out onto the water.
I have a fair bit of data to process. From the last couple of days.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I just want to say again, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us this morning. And that's great. Everyone can find out more. And it was just really interesting to hear more about the work.
Thanks a lot.